Hi, folks. Steve Urban here, host of the Riderflex podcast and founder and CEO of our day job recruiting firm, Riderflex. We hope you enjoy this episode. And as a reminder, please subscribe to the podcast for updates and news. Finally, if you haven't already, check out the series of books we've published on hiring, interviewing, and overall career advice titled The Riderflex Guide, available on Amazon. And now, a quick word from our sponsor.
Most homeowners don't have the time or expertise to properly take care of their home, which causes costly issues to arise. That's where Kira Home Maintenance comes in. We're a full-service, routine maintenance company that was developed by a certified home inspector. Each quarter, we service our clients' homes following manufacturer's recommendations to properly maintain all the necessary appliances. We provide the materials and expertise to prolong the life of your property, creating a healthy and efficient environment for your family. From top to bottom, we'll maintain and service your home. To get started, we have a property inspection to determine what needs to be maintained, and a maintenance plan is created based on your preferences. From refrigerator coils to filters, vents, and drains, we do it all, and we do it well. Contact us today for your free routine maintenance inspection, and never worry about your maintenance again.
Yeah, so I after college, I started my first company, which was we developed environmental control systems for very small hydroponic systems, so like growing food at home. And we launched that on Kickstarter. And yeah, that was definitely, there's a lot more work than we thought it would be. When we started the project, we were like, oh, 2-3 months, we'll get it up on the website. It took us about a year.
Was that a college project that you thought would really turn into a business? I mean, were you at first, was it like, oh, this is just a fun project, or you wanted that to be the real deal?
It was more of a fun project, kind of getting our feet wet within kind of the agriculture space, which is, what I'm passionate about. And yeah, after that, I started the company that rooted Robotics, but at the time we were called Urban Farms. And we originally started the company to build an indoor vertical farm, that's where I am right now. And we pivoted a couple of months ago and decided to focus on the technology we're developing. So the original idea with Urban Farms was, if you took a look at the industry on its face, it's very exciting, it's very sexy. But when you zoom in closer, there was so much going on with labor problems, and just very few of the big farms are profitable. The margins are tight. If you're selling head lettuce, it's tough because you're competing with stuff grown outdoors, in many cases with migrant labor. And so you're paying people in a city, and then your competitors are paying in some cases illegal migrant workers who are not making very much money. Mm-hmm. And so it's a tough business. And our kind of approach to that whole thing was, we're going to automate the entire process. We're going to develop systems to plant the seeds, put them into a germination area, pull them out of the germination area, transplant them into the main growing area, then pull them out of there, harvest them, package them, load them onto a truck. So all of that was the concept, that every single step in that process is done by a machine. And really the only thing that we didn't tackle was essentially the cleaning aspect of it, because after you've grown everything, you still got to clean all of these different systems. And that's at that point in time, the automation involved in that was pretty challenging. And I'd say it's still very challenging. I think, with the advances in AI, machine learning, computer vision, all of those things, it's becoming more approachable, but I still think it's 5 to 10 years off.
How did you get into? Were you always like an agriculture, horticulture, plant kid, or how did that even happen?
So I grew up in New York City. So short answer, no. But
wow, I just assumed you're like, okay, he grew up in like Kansas or Indiana or something. Yeah.
No, I
Wow.
grew up in Brooklyn.
Oh,
But
wow. Wow.
yeah, when I was probably 7 or 8, my mom enrolled me in some gardening courses at the Botanic Garden. So I guess that'd be my original start. But when I was 17, I went down to Costa Rica. My parents shipped me off down there for 2 months. And I didn't know much Spanish, but I kind of figured it out. And I volunteered on an organic farm down there.
Oh,
And
okay.
that was kind of how I fell in love with agriculture. But that was one of the first times I got to like pick the food I was eating that same day, and vegetables actually tasted good, and that sort of thing. So um,
Uh,
that's how I got my yeah, that's how I really like got excited about agriculture. And then a year later, when I was in my senior year of high school, I learned about vertical farming, and I read the book by Dixon Despommier, who's a professor at Columbia.
okay.
He kind of coined the term vertical farming, and I actually got to go interview him because I was in New York City. And so I just took the train up. He was a super nice guy, talked to me for an hour, and I did my senior project in high school on that.
Can you
And then
educate
I
the
came out
listeners, by
here
the way? Can you give the commoner definition for the listeners for vertical
on
farming?
vertical farming.
Yep.
Yeah, sure. So the field that we play in is generally called controlled environment agriculture, and that breaks down into vertical farming and then greenhouse growing. And so vertical farming is growing in these vertically stacked layers where you're using the vertical space. And so you have lights indoors, generally LEDs or high efficiency lights that you're using to replace the sun. And you're growing indoors, which has a number of advantages, including that you can grow all year. The climate is controlled, so there's no bad weather, and you can use a way less water. In most cases, you see upwards of 95% less water. And so
Ah,
those
okay.
kind of reasons are why there's a lot of interest in the industry. And that's why I'm excited about it, because I think when we look 50, 100 years into the future, we need to have a backup plan, right? If climate change does get really bad, then we need to be able to still grow food in controlled environments that are, independent of weather.
When
And so that's
you
really the whole idea behind the industry.
when you went to when you fell in love with this whole thing, is that why you decided to go to Boulder to see you?
Yeah, it was one of the reasons I thought this would be kind of the right town to meet the type of people that I wanted to be involved with
Okay.
to get into this space.
Okay. What'd your folks do?
My father's an entertainment lawyer, so he works with filmmakers and artists of different kinds. And then he also sometimes, so he's the lawyer, he helps draft the contracts and that sort of thing. But
Okay.
he
Okay.
also builds teams, so he's a producer on a lot of film projects. And so his network is the most valuable thing about what he does. He knows thousands of people. Like he literally has this database where I think he has contacts going back to like 95 or something, and notes on
Uh,
everyone.
and who's the most famous person? Who's your favorite famous person that you've met?
I would say Luis Ceballos, who used to live in
Oh,
Boulder. So he directed a film called The Cove,
see,
and they won an Oscar.
okay.
And yeah, he's a really cool guy. He when I moved out here, we actually stayed at his house for a couple days, and yeah, he's a great guy.
All right, very good. How about your mother?
So my mother was a public school teacher in New York City for, I want to say, 25 years.
Okay.
And yeah, so she's originally from Germany. My
Oh,
parents met in Spain in the 80s, and eventually she came over here, and she lived in New York City for 30 years, and she taught at a couple before she entered the public school system. She taught at Columbia University and a couple of other places, but she taught German, and then eventually she also did Spanish.
wow.
And
Cool. All right.
yeah, so she speaks 5 different languages, and
Wow.
has traveled a ton. She was a flight attendant before she was a teacher, I think that was when my parents were just starting to date. So she's been all over the world, and
How about that? All right. And she
well,
lives in
yeah,
Colorado now? She lives near
she
you
actually
now?
moved back to Germany.
Oh,
Yeah.
why? Just to be near family? She's like, it's like Germany better.
Yeah, her mother was having some health struggles, and she passed a couple of years ago, and but
Okay.
she moved back to support her mother, and she decided to stay because she'd moved back to her hometown, and she's got a lot of friends back there, so
I
it's been
got you.
good for her.
I'm assuming your mom and dad are not together then.
Not anymore.
You got you. Siblings? Got any siblings?
Yeah, I've got a sister. She's about 3 years older than me. She's uh she's a like user interface designer. She
Okay.
previously was at Google and a bunch of other smaller companies in the meantime. And I think now she's working at a venture studio that focuses on real estate, and they're based in Boston.
Okay. Your entrepreneurial bug, do you think that came from your dad because you saw your dad kind of running his own thing, or where do you think that came from?
Yeah, definitely think he's a big factor in that. I think, one of the ways that he decided to go with his career is he didn't take the partner track. He's what's called of counsel at his law firm, which is
Yep.
basically like he gets all of his own business. He's basically
Hmm.
an entrepreneur as a lawyer.
Gotcha.
And so I've seen him kind of manage that over the years. And yeah, I'd say it's a big factor.
When you went to your dad and said, "Hey, I got this idea," was he like, "No, no, 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 you're going to get a regular job. You're going to be a lawyer"? How'd that conversation go?
No, he's been super supportive the whole time. He's
Yeah.
I think he's really excited to, that I'm willing to take these kind of risks and do something that I'm passionate about, and that hopefully can make the world a slightly better place.
Is he an investor? Is he one of the investors?
He is, yeah.
Okay. Have you talked to me about cash raise so far? Do you have angels, seed round, family, friends? What have you done?
Yeah, so we did a friends and family round when we started the company. That was about 130,000. And then last summer we did a round with a few angels as well as some of the friends and family that came back. And that was about 275. And then we also took on some debt, and we received a $250,000 grant from the state of Colorado.
Good job on getting the grant. The debt you took out, is that for the equipment and the stuff I'm looking at in your background there?
Yeah, some of it.
Yep. Okay. Did you buy the building or you're leasing it?
Releasing it.
Okay.
They're in
All right.
Boulder. This I don't know how this building. I don't know. That's easily a couple million.
Yeah, exactly. Now, all right, I'm gonna ask you a million questions here. When you went to Boulder because you knew, all right, the good networking, the right people, investors, environmentally conscious,
Aware.
just the
Yeah.
aware, just all of it, right? This kind of fits what you were going to do. But now you're in Boulder and you're thinking, well, shit, okay, it's the cost of living, the building expense. I could do this building in Kansas and make out a lot better. I mean,
Sure.
do you think what's the goal? Buildings across the country? Talk to me. What are we doing here with,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, I guess we kind of got caught up
No, it's okay.
in the
It's all
story,
good.
but
Yeah.
so I'll kind of finish out the story and kind of
Yeah.
sprinkle in the answers to those questions. But so a couple months ago we pivoted and we decided to focus on the technology
All
that
right.
we've developed, and within that we're focused on three core products. We talked to a bunch of different stakeholders in the space, including farmers, consultants, and other system providers. And there's three core processes that were basically the biggest pain points, but they're also things that we can easily create solutions for and products for. And
Okay.
so the first one is planting seeds and then harvesting the finished product, the greens. And then the third one is cleaning the trays that you grow the plants in. And so all of these are fairly labor intensive pain points where you can, if you're using a machine, you can not only reduce the labor cost, but in some cases, other than the cleaning, you're able to increase your yield because you either get a more consistent cut or you get a more consistent distribution of seeds so the plants aren't crowding each other out. And so that's kind of what we've pivoted towards. And so the goal long term is really to accelerate the whole industry forward by providing more affordable automation solutions.
Okay.
Because
Okay. Do you classify yourself as a SaaS company, a consulting company, or yeah, what's your bucket?
I'd say we're an equipment manufacturer, and we also do consulting.
Okay. So there's not an ongoing SaaS fee. It's a one-time setup, and then I call you back as a consultant as needed. Is that right?
Yeah, and that's right. And we are also looking into developing computer vision models that you could add on to each machine so that you could automate the data capture for each of
And
the different steps in the process. And that would be a SaaS model.
now you got my attention as an investor for sure. Okay. Not that you didn't before, but that adds on, right? As an investor for the recurring revenue.
Sure.
For the SaaS piece. Okay. So you're not buying buildings and creating these indoor farms as a company. You're providing the equipment and the service to people that want to do that.
Exactly.
And who wants to do that? Well, who are these companies that are growing these massive indoor farms? Who are these people? And are these companies, are the investment firms, are they farmers? Who's your client?
So there's two channels. The first one is going to be directly the farmers. So either these large scale vertical farms or greenhouse growers. And then we're also talking to a lot of microgreens growers. Are you familiar with microgreens?
I'm not. No, I do know greenhouse in the horticulture industry, but I don't know microgreens. Go ahead.
Yeah, so microgreens is a very young green. It's about 10, 12 days old. And they sell them to
Oh,
high-end restaurants generally, right? You'll see
okay.
them at the farmers market. So there's a
Yep.
lot of different places they sell them to. It's generally a smaller market, but it's a very high value crop. And so we're selling to smaller to medium-sized microgreen farmers. And then we're also selling to a lot of vertical farms because, like I said earlier, the profitability piece with vertical farms is really tough. And so a lot of the big guys are starting to pivot and focus a little bit more on microgreens and baby greens. And so we're developing the machines that they use to plant the seeds, harvest the crops, and clean the trays that they grow in.
Okay. So your customer is a greenhouse horticulture environment let's say a giant tomato farm and then a giant indoor tomato farm or a giant indoor lettuce farm, whatever. These are your
Yep.
customers.
Yeah, so that's the one side is the farmers themselves, whether they're indoor, whether they're greenhouse or vertical. And then the other channel is really partnerships that we're developing with other system providers. So people that design the farm systems that they want to be able to offer automation solutions that go with their products, which is that could either be those three core products that I already mentioned, or we can develop custom solutions, that basically integrate with their existing solution and just reduce the labor associated with those products.
Okay. All right. So you have no idea about you don't know this about me, but I was a consumer goods executive for a long time. Then I started Riderflex, which is a recruiting and staffing firm. Then we started the podcast. But I worked in horticulture for a while. I worked for
Oh, yeah?
about $100 million bedding plant facility that grew annuals and perennials for like
Oh,
Lowe's,
wow.
Walmart, Home Depot.
Yeah.
So I am familiar. I can speak the language a little bit, so to speak. Okay, here's what I would think. First of all, these are third, fourth generation families. Most of these whole old school
Yeah.
farmers, Dutch families that grow up flowers. I mean, these guys are hardcore rooted into tradition and all kinds of stuff, and the razor thin margins for the most part. I mean,
Yeah.
they're making a killing. How does a Brooklyn kid walk into a third generation Dutch farmer family and say, "Hey guys, what's up? I need to sell you this AI and robotics stuff." I mean, that is a hard sell, my friend. I know these people. I can't imagine. Who's knocking down those doors, Max?
Yeah. So our distribution strategy is really to partner with the existing distributor networks and suppliers that are out there, because they already
Whether
have
are you
these
talking about the
relationships.
okay, all right, like the
Because
container, like
I completely agree with what you're saying, right? Because they're gonna see us and be like, you don't know anything.
yep,
You haven't been doing this. One of my
yes,
partners, he's been growing in indoors and vertical farms for over a decade. So he has a little more credibility there. But I see what you're saying, and I think there's validity there. So our strategy there is to find those
I see.
distribution partners that are already selling equipment in the space, and
Okay,
we're gonna have pilots and trials for all these machines. So they're going to be like, okay, well, this was validated. This has been operating at scale for a while. They've done testing.
whether
It
it's
comes with a warranty, all those
okay,
things.
whether it's the water guys or the lighting guys or
Yeah,
the guys that supply the pots or the guys that supply the dirt or whatever.
right.
Any of those
Exactly.
channels. I see. Okay. Because if Johnny, the guy that supplies the dirt and fertilizer, who's been dealing with the
Johnny supplies
family,
the seeds. There's a big company called Johnny Seeds.
oh yeah. I mean, I guess they'll take the meeting with you if Sammy, their vendor they've been dealing with for 25 years, says, "Hey, I want you to meet Max." Boom, now you got the meeting.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
All right. Yeah, I
And
because
I would say, like, there's also a sizable portion of our customer base specifically that focus on microgreens, the smaller guys. They're generally
yes.
businesses that are, five less than generally less than 5 years old. The older
Okay.
ones are
Yeah.
as old as 10 years, but 5 years is kind of the older route, because microgreens is a pretty new category.
Much easier to talk those guys into trying something new.
Sure. Yeah, and I
Okay.
mean,
Uh,
with those companies also, it's often like it's one or two people. They're doing most of the work themselves,
I got
and
you.
you know they're tired. They want to automate some of these things.
I'll just tell you a quick funny story. Listen, and then we'll come back to rooted. So the first time I went to work for this family,
Yeah.
and they put me in charge of sales and operations, and I didn't know dick about plants at the time. I didn't know anything. And I remember bringing the old man in and his two sons saying, "Hey, we really need an organizational chart where people have titles and it shows who reports up to who, so that it's not." And they're looking at me like I was from outer space or something. They're like, "What?" They're like, "No, no, no. We don't need all that. We just." I just know from experience it's hard to get these guys, because they've been doing it for so long. But your strategy is good. I like your strategy. What about the numbers, Max? I mean, I'm assuming you have to pitch this and say, look, John, yes, initially there's this upfront cost, but look, over this period, this is where you're going to save in the late. I'm assuming you have this all.
Yeah.
You got it ready, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we built ROI calculators that essentially just say, okay, if you're doing this much volume,
Yeah.
this is how much labor it's going to save you. This is how much we expect your yields to go up. And
Yeah.
therefore, you're going to see an ROI in X amount of time. And we try to, as much as possible, obviously it depends on the scale of the operation, but we try to get that down to about a year for most of our customers, because we really, you know, these people, in most cases, they don't have many options when it comes to automation, and they're already fairly hesitant when they see the price tag. And so we offer financing, which is, I don't,
Okay.
without that, I don't think it really works.
Agreed.
But beyond that, we want to get it to the point where your monthly payment on your financing is going to be roughly the same amount that you're saving because you have the machine. And so
Perfect.
at that point, it's basically free, or you're breaking even. And then
O-
after that year or so, that's when you're making more money, you're more
o-
profitable.
Okay. Another comment or question. Help me visualize this. I'm the farmer.
Yeah.
I've been doing it the same way for 100 years. I'm just envisioning them saying something like, what are you saying? I'll use robots to save labor? Like, what are you selling me exactly, Max? Are you selling me a machine? Are you selling me information? What am I buying
Yeah,
physically?
it's a machine. It's a machine
Can you
that
show me? Can you show us?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Let me pull up some renderings. One of them is, this is a model. I mean, this one of the first seeding machines is right behind me, but I'll
Okay.
I'll show
Okay.
you some renders because it's probably hard to look at.
It's called a seeding machine. What's the name of it? You got a name for it?
Tabletop seeder. I don't know. We're not like giving them names, but
You're an
you see
engineer,
this?
right? Yeah. Okay. There we go.
Yeah, I am an engineer. Yes.
Did you design it? Or are you one of the head lead designers?
No, these days I'm more in the spreadsheets and on the sales side of things.
I
But I mean,
understand.
I help conceptualize things, and the guys do all the work.
This is cool. All right. This is cool. Now, you got patents on this and everything? You got it protected?
We're working on it. Yeah, we're
Okay.
gonna do provisionals in the next couple of months.
What does this
Um,
do for me that my current machine doesn't do, Max? Sell me.
So most people that I'm talking to, just for context, they're taking a cup of seeds. They're taking a cup, putting it in their bag of seeds, and then they're just sprinkling them like this. And this specifically for microgreens, right? Other
Okay.
farmers are doing it obviously a different way, but
Okay.
microgreen
Okay.
seeder, they're just going like this. And what this is going to do for you is that the seed distribution is perfect every time. You can hand this off to an untrained employee. All they need to do is press a few buttons, and then they can do this perfectly every time. They're going to do it 5 times faster than they could have ever done it. And a lot of the folks we talk to, they don't trust their employees to do this. They end up, the CEO is basically shaking these seeds out because they've been doing it for 5 years, and they're better than anyone else. And they're worried, if the seeds are too dense in this area, there's not enough seeds over here,
Yeah.
their yields
Yep.
are going to suffer. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so this machine just makes it perfect every time, and it's a lot faster than you could ever do it by hand.
Is it like a little conveyor belt, basically?
Yeah,
Looks like it.
exactly. So we've from the other angle, you can see you put the tray in over here. You can see my
Okay.
mouse, right?
Yep.
Yep.
I can see it. Mm-hmm.
And then the tray comes out over here.
I see.
And
Okay.
and I'd say in like 3 or 4 days we'll have a video. So
Can you
yeah,
can
we're just
you
finishing up the unit here.
can you give me a humanoid robot that puts the tray on one side and takes the tray off the other, so I don't have to have a human doing that too?
Yeah, eventually. It's not cost effective right now.
I understand. Well, I didn't I see you could buy one for 16 grand. I saw that. I don't want to go down a rabbit hole there. What else are you what else are you selling besides this? Is this your core item right now?
Yeah, so this is the core product for the seeder, and then these are the rollers that come with it. So different seed sizes, are going to call for different rollers. So you could swap those
Okay.
out. It's
Okay.
flexible in that way. And then I'm going to skip through this one. So this is our harvester, and so this one is a bandsaw. You push you put your tray right here. You push it through. It's like a push block, and then the greens just fall down. And I could pull up a video if you want. It's kind of
Yeah, go for it.
satisfying
Yeah,
to look at.
go for it.
And then
Yeah.
this the system can be upgraded. You can add a conveyor belt to it, well, in the exact same frame. So let me just pull up my video here.
While you're doing that, the financing, the overall fee includes the machine, the implementation, the setup, and then if it breaks down, do you come back out and repair it for me and all that?
Yeah, we can. And the warranty is just going to cover parts. So, for us to come out and fix it,
Okay.
we would charge for that. But we do strive to build all of these machines in a way that the farmer can fix them themselves. And that's really something that a lot of the farmers we talk to value that a ton, because
Oh yeah.
if the
Yep.
machine goes out and they got to wait like 3 days for us to come out there,
Yeah. Yeah. No.
that's not going to work.
Especially
gonna
during
get backed
especially during the planting rotation or whatever. Like they gotta.
Yeah, exactly. So these are some microgreens that are getting cut by that bandsaw harvester.
Okay. Okay.
And we put the whole machine on an angle so that the product just tumbles down, goes into a little basket. And this is kind of the base model. And this is the idea that we have for all of our machines, is that we're going to have a lower cost base model, where if you're not a facility with a ton of production, you're not going to want the top of the line machine that's 50, 100 grand. You want something that's more affordable. And then if you do eventually scale up, you can upgrade it. You can throw a conveyor belt on there.
I see.
Does that make sense?
Yep, it does. Okay, very good. I have some questions here. For the listeners, microgreens, what are they planting? What is it they're planting? Yeah.
So there's probably I mean, I think the most varieties I've ever heard from the farmers we've talked to is 40 different varieties. But the ones that we've grown a lot of is, let's say, arugula, broccoli, cabbage,
Okay.
radishes, sunflowers, peas, corn shoots I've heard of as well.
Okay.
Then there's kind of more fancy things like shiso and um, yeah, just things that a really high end restaurant like a Michelin star quality restaurant, they're going to want to put that on there as a garnish, things like that, things that
Okay.
most
Okay.
people haven't heard of.
And those things that you just said are being grown are most, and I don't know, I should know this is going to sound ignorant. Are most of those things you just mentioned grown indoors across the country now? When we say indoors, we mean greenhouse too. Are most of
Sure.
those grown in greenhouses now, or or any of those outdoor crops? I have no idea.
It's almost exclusively indoors, including
Okay.
greenhouses. Yeah.
I got you. Okay, good. So back to your original point is you're not trying to compete with massive outdoor farmers with millions of acres.
No.
Yeah, got you. All right, very good.
Yeah, we're not competing with with any of those giants like John Deere or anything like that.
Yep. Why would John Smith say no? Why would he say no? What pushback are you getting?
I would say for some of the smaller operations, their ROI is just not going to be there. Let's say, you know,
I
we're
see.
saying our ROI is 12 months, but he's saying, well, I only operate 6 months of the year and I'm the only employee. So I'm not
Okay.
really saving on labor costs, and it's going to take me 2 years because I only operate half the year.
All
So,
right.
I think the scale is the biggest thing. If you're not doing enough volume, then there's not as much labor being saved and there's not as much yield being earned. So
How big does my farm have to be? What kind of revenue do I need to be doing before I should call Max?
I'd say the low, and I'll say this in a unit that is going to be more familiar to the farmers, but it's not necessarily
Okay.
as easy to understand. But the farmers grow in these 10 by 20 trays, 10 inches by
Yep.
20 inches. And
Mhm.
if you're doing about 250 of those a week, that's kind of the scale that I think we start to make sense. Below that, it's a little more questionable, but it just depends on the cost of your labor. We talked to some folks in Brazil after you do the conversion. They're paying like $3 an hour. So it's going to be tough to make sense down there. But in some of the places up here that we talk to people, they're paying as much as 25 an hour. And at that point, 150 trays a week starts to make sense. And so it's really a question of ROI for most of these people.
How do
And
these
that's what it
how do
comes down
these
to.
how are these US indoor farmers that are growing this stuff even competing with this shit brought in from Brazil or whatever? How are they even competing?
It goes bad in just a couple of days, and so
Okay.
there isn't anything at least within this categories, there really isn't anything being shipped from Brazil. There's a big grower in California and they ship across the country. But a lot of the smaller guys we've talked to, they say they compete with those guys because the chefs they
I
want a
see.
much more fresh product. And so even if it's coming from 3 days ago from California, it's still not nearly as good as the stuff that the guy next door can grow.
Thank you for sharing that. Who's your enemy here? Um, the pissed off workers that you're eliminating jobs from, or who's your enemy? Is there another manufacturer of a machine that you're wiping out? Who's who are you battling?
I'd say, the it's really a worker assist. So we're really just trying to make the workers more efficient. And I don't think they're really our enemy. We're really making their job just less repetitive. And they don't have to do as many of these repetitive labor intensive tasks. Maybe we're cutting down their hours a little bit. So maybe there's an argument to be made. And hopefully we are cutting down their hours, right? Because ultimately a lot of these businesses aren't profitable. And that's just as an industry, that's not going to work. On the competitor side, I mean, I think we're opening up a new market within the price point that we're selling at. Because if you look at a lot of our competitors, most of them are in the Netherlands, and some of like the harvesting machine, for example, one of our competitors, they sell that product for 130 grand, and we're going to be selling it for closer to 25. And there's differences in the products, of course, and theirs is certainly more automated than our base models, but ultimately they're focused on the massive scale, industrial scale greenhouse operations, and we're focused a little more on the smaller scale farms and greenhouses. So it's really a different market.
Okay. Speaking of markets, is this speed to market for you, and then sell this thing or before somebody copies it? And what's your plan, Max?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I mean, we're going to get patents, so it'd make it a little more difficult for someone to copy it, but
okay,
certainly not impossable. But yeah, that's
are,
the idea. I mean, we really want to build a network within the industry so that we're a trusted source, of this equipment, and not that many of these companies are American, and so that's something that we value. That we're local, we're able to speak the same language, and
okay.
we can help you, and we, as much as possible, we're manufacturing as many of our parts out here as we can.
Are people like Ball Seed or any of these giant players paying attention or calling you yet, talking to you?
We're starting to talk to some. I'm not going to name names because we have NDAs, but we're starting to talk to some big players in the game about potential partnerships and developing products
There you go.
for them. And because ultimately, if we can, if it's a seed company or a substrate company, right, the companies that sell like the soil, but in our case, it's not generally actually soil, it's like some sort of coco coir, something like that. If we can develop a product that lowers the labor associated with the grower using their product, that's a big value add to them, and they're going to push our product. And so we can kind of white label our products with them, or it doesn't really matter if our branding's on there or not, because if they're doing $1 billion in revenue and they work with 10,000 farms, even if just a few hundred of those want our product, it's a big win for us.
Yeah. Where are you making the machines?
Right now, the first couple of units will be assembling them here in Boulder, and then after that, we're looking at moving the manufacturing to Nebraska, which is where we're doing a lot of the metal work anyway.
You have a relationship with somebody there already for the metal work, or somebody's?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You've only raised like 500 grand. How are you living? How are you eating, Max? What how are you?
Rice and beans.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, I'm guessing you're ramen noodles right now. What's the plan on cash raise?
So we're currently just about to start a raise of $1 million.
Okay.
And we're just finishing up some of our investor materials and starting some conversations with angel investors, and also looking into strategic investment with potentially some of these partners, these channel partners that could also sell our products. Because one of the things we've noticed is not that many people understand specifically the controlled environment agriculture market, and so finding people who are already in the space and these companies that we want to partner with, that would be kind of an ideal investor, because they already know the value that we bring, because they know that there's this huge drop off. If you have 50 grand to spend on a machine, sure, there's a handful of options, but if you have like 25 or 10, there's absolutely nothing out there, and that's really the market that we're filling.
I bet you didn't know when you scheduled this podcast with me that I had this horticulture background. And by the way, my co-founder,
I did not.
my co-founder at Riderflex, Scott, that's how we met. We worked for a company called Color Star Growers in Fort Lupton, Colorado.
Okay.
And which was subsequently gobbled up by some other players that I'll talk to you about offline. My point is, I know people, Max. I know people. We stop the recording here. We'll talk about maybe some ways I can help you with introductions and things. And
that'd be great.
And if you have a teaser or a deck or whatever for your cash race, I'm happy to,
sure.
You just have to promise me that when you start hiring a bunch of people, you got to use recruiting firm Riderflex to do that. That's all. We just have to make a deal.
Sure. Sounds good.
All right, so you're raising $1 million. I'm sorry, how far along are you on that? Is that just starting? Have you got any
We're just
commitments?
starting.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just starting.
All right. Yeah, cash has got to be tight. I mean, are you paying those boys behind you, or they're also working for sweat equity?
Yeah, no, we're getting paid right now.
Yeah, but not for you're gonna have
We
to raise.
have yeah,
But
we have runway till October, so
I was
it's
just
tight.
about to say. All right. Oh my
If we
gosh,
make a couple of sales, we stretch that out a little longer. You know what I mean? But it's yeah, it's tight.
you're doing the, you're doing the, it's such a great. This is a wonderful time you're in. You will never forget all of this because right now, as an entrepreneur, you're looking at the calendar and you're like, okay, June, July, August, we got like 4 months of life. We got 4 months to live. As long if we can just get that cash raised and get some
It's
revenue.
surprising how comfortable you get with it because it's
Isn't
so
it?
uncomfortable.
Isn't
It's
it?
so uncomfortable, but
You
you kind
just
of get used to it.
we could do a whole hour just on that. We could do a whole hour on that topic right there. It is amazing how when you first become an entrepreneur, you're like, holy shit. Okay, we have like 2 months worth of cash. And if we don't get another contract, like we're dead. It's over. But
Right.
somehow as time goes on, you just get almost numb to it. And you just keep going. You just keep going, you know?
Yeah.
I had this entrepreneur on one time because we've had like 400 people on the show. He comes on and he goes, here's how I used to do it. He's like, I'd get up in the mornings and I would look out to the driveway. And if my car was still there and hadn't been repossessed yet, I figured I'm still in business. It's a good, I mean, hey, it's a fun life. I think it sounds to me like there's not a lot of competition. It sounds to me like you're creating a new opportunity where there's a need, right? You're not trying to open up another coffee shop. It doesn't sound like. It sounds like you had some ideas, you pivoted, you got some information, you made some pivots, and now I'm over here. Okay, wait a minute, no, wait a minute. Now then, no, actually the need is over here, and now let's do this, which is the classic entrepreneur move. Good for you. You got the balls and the smarts to say, okay, wait a minute. Yeah, I know that we were thinking green for that wall, but actually it needs to be blue. So let's go this way. I mean, that's what you
Yeah.
have to do. That's what you got to do, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. How many people you got on the team?
There's 4 of us now.
Okay.
4 of us full time, and then we've got some interns as well.
There you go.
And back to your point earlier about like, being in Boulder, and that's one of the biggest things I value about Boulder is we've got pretty much an endless supply of very intelligent people. And that
Yes,
helps.
very intelligent young people that often come from enough family money to work for pennies to help you get this going.
Yes.
It's a
Indeed.
perfect environment. Okay. Website. You said, what is it? Going up, working on it. Where is it? No, it's up. It's
The
up. Wait, no,
website?
it's
The website's up.
it's
Yeah,
up. Rootedrobotics.com. Can I order a machine or do I just contact you for information? What am I doing with the website?
yeah. Right now, you're going to contact us. We're building a sales page so that people can just order them, but we do still want to, in most cases, talk to people, just make sure it's a good fit for the scale of their operation and figure out financing options.
Okay.
Because in most cases, they're going to need that. The seeding machine, for example, we're listing that at 10 grand. And so if you're, a small farm doing, let's say, somewhere between 5 and 10,000 in monthly revenue, and your margins are, let's say, 20-30%, you're going to need financing. Like,
Yep.
Probably aren't stacking cash that much.
Yep. No, you're absolutely right. That's a good move. Can you get some like hot chick farmers on your Instagram page or something? We need some girls on here. Max, come on. Help me out with the marketing. Who's doing your social media? No, I'm just giving you a hard time. I'm just playing around. Do you know Facebook page yet?
We're not doing Facebook. I think we're just focused on, LinkedIn and Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah.
I forgot to ask you, married, kids, social life, single, what partners, what's up with you?
Longtime girlfriend. I would have, we would get married, but we don't want to, just for personal reasons. But we for all intents and purposes, we're basically married.
Is she helping you with the business, or what's she doing?
No, she runs her own business. She runs a tutoring company. and she works with, middle school all the way up to college kids, doing executive functioning coaches, so kids with ADHD, and math tutoring, and that's kind of her sweet spot.
It's her own business.
Yeah.
You're
When
both
we
entrepreneurs.
met, I was, yeah. When we started dating, I was working part-time tutoring to support, my entrepreneurial habits. And I got her a job there. I mean, she had tutored in the past, so she got herself the job, and she's more than qualified. But she worked there for a couple of years, and she was like, "I know every part of this business. Let me just do this myself."
Cool.
So.
All right, you're both entrepreneurs. Wow. Okay. Yeah, you guys like risk. You like scary risk. That's good.
Yeah, we've also recently got into free diving. Speaking of risk, which is basically
Geez.
like, scuba diving without any supplemental air. You just go down on your breath.
Yeah. Well, how did you? Oh, you said she was her high school. How'd you meet her? No.
We met out here in Colorado. She's originally from Virginia, and
Okay.
just through mutual friends. And yeah, we started freediving a couple months ago, when we went to Nicaragua.
Jesus Christ, Max, you like risk. Okay. Where's the New York? I don't hear any Brooklyn accent. I don't hear any. Where is it at? There's none of it's in there.
Coffee, right? Like, yeah, I mean, like, I just didn't, my dad doesn't talk like that. My mom's German, so it never really came in. And my dad, he grew up, he was born in Manhattan, but he grew up in, let's see, Ridgewood, New Jersey, St. Petersburg, Florida, and New York City to some degree. But he was kind of, bouncing all over the place, and so we never really got the New York accent.
I mean, if I met you on the street, like if I saw you in a tavern and we were having beers together, I would just assume that you were from Colorado. No, easily.
I have been here for 10 years, so
yeah. Oh yeah. You fit the mold. Max, we're going to stop the recording here pretty soon, but hang on, because I want to talk to you offline. But congratulations, man. For the listeners, one more time, rootedrobotics.com. Max Knight. You can also find him on LinkedIn and connect with him there. By the way, it's not Max. He's got his
Maximilian.
He's got his full name on LinkedIn. Maximilian. I love that name. Very cool.
Thank you.
I mean, there's not many kids in your high school class named Maximilian, right? Like, you had to be the only one.
Yeah, there was a Maxwell, and I think a French. What was his? Yeah, Maxime. He was French. Yeah.
I mean, Maximilian. That's a cool name. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, my friend. Thanks so much for being on the Riderflex podcast. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve.